One of the deeply seated problems in the American Republic is that the majority of people who concern themselves with things like the arts and culture don't have the slightest capacity to differentiate between casino winnings and hard earned reward for um, work and labor. This legal system has made an argument that maybe is true that casino winnings aren't really ill gotten gains. But people who try to build up their reputations on the basis of casino winnings rather than rightfully earned, hard earned rewards for what they've accomplished end up misguided and are bad role models. They become given to stake up on their reputations and so forth, and to get turned into yakuza politics because when money isn't accorded for a legal reason, it becomes loose-handed and it rewards some very infamous people. Like Carnegie Mellon University is full of looters, kind of people who would raise Gaza to take it over for water riverfronts, and they're not ashamed of it. They should be. They have museum thieves who give money to barbaric um, stooges of the Morgans who take a little bit of the museum thieving money and pass out buttons of the Farabunda Marty Liberation Front, the FMLN guy, and he has a quarter pound of reefer in his drawer. And he makes tons more money serving the CAA, but he um, collaborates with lesbian Avengers and feminazis who have a spy war game going throughout the American intelligence circles. And Carnegie Mellon is just full of this kind of stuff. Millionaires children who would gladly wreck their car to snap their fingers and get a new one. And they use pressure point on someone like me. It doesn't matter how talented or rightfully gained my earnings are. The silly, pathetic thing that the Kennedys have done in siding with an objectionable storyline, promoting a script writers circle who claim they killed John Lennon and then pinned the tail on the donkey of the deaf kid who was confused. This silly story that ends up requiring human sacrifices like getting the Secret Service to find a chopper driver willing to commit suicide by bringing down a plane full of Wichita figure skaters while they tell this weird story about um, Kennedy putting mice in a, or guinea pigs in a blender, or rabbits in a blender and watching them die, like Gummo in the movie Kids. I mean, it's sickeningly indecent. But the way they use the pressure points is they have frenzied casino operators, people who have their own talents, who should be able to comprehend the difference between a victim of torture and somebody who is being exploited by Hollywood and their whacked out fantasies from Paul McCartney's headquarters. They should be able to tell a difference. Sherman and Lexi should be able to tell a difference between a deaf kid who's been exploited and the fantasies that Paul McCartney has come up with about me. And he can't. His whole clientele is people panting like um, a lewd mob in a cartoon from Fritz the Cat about John Lennon, which has nothing to do. It has never. I hate to break it to you, but it has never had anything whatsoever, even remotely, to do with me. But what they do is they use it as a pressure point. They make pornographic genocide. They commit holocaustal atrocities, and then they giggle and they say Jimmy's going to make a penny if anybody investigates what he's reported. And they go berserk. They start tearing Persian carpets and burning down laboratories and murdering bystanders and jump down whole pee-pee. We're Russians, we're Russians, we're Russians. I mean, this is Seattle. They're a condom for the CIA. The Seattle left are a condom for the CIA. And they go around with extraordinary wealth pretending that they're valorous because they can murder somebody or commit suicide at the slightest recognition from Brian Eno. It's a weird, disturbing, psychotic culture that the American Republic has become. And I attribute it to the fact that they make themselves crazy over money. That the one thing that they won't allow is the idea of money that's hard earned, that's earned properly through hard work. They can't accept that. They rip the carpets. They smash things and go crazy. And they poop on the floor. They do all sorts of things. Rather, because the whole idea for them of rightful gains is casino winnings. That's the whole idea for them. You know, they don't direct the idea of what happened to Haiti, for example, which is a left-wing cause, at people who have amassed fortunes by exploiting Haiti. They don't direct them at that. What they directed it at is to people who work for $7.50 an hour. The people who are struggling, the people who dare to try to defend deaf girls being robbed at the ATM of their only income from Social Security. That's who these nightmare weasels have it in for. That's the sort of person they attack. That's the sort of person that they rape. That's the sort of person they come up with barbaric third world justifications to destroy. And that's the fact of the Seattle left. It's not something I made up. It's hard experience with them. That's the truth about them. They're absolutely unprincipled, deranged psychotics because they can't tell the difference between hard work and casino winnings. I'm not saying that casino winnings aren't rightfully owned or that they have to be shared or they're not legal gambling winnings, because I don't care about that issue. I don't know whether it's true. It's not legal to steal from the museum, but they get confused about that too. If it was a successful museum thief, they want to know what it's worth and how much of the divvies they can get and have. That's who they are. That's how they were raised. That's how they were groomed. That's their whole theory of property. They can't possibly imagine the idea of paying a deaf man for washing dishes. That to them is like, oh my God, he was an employee of a Jewish man. That's defiant of the race team at Amazon. I mean, they'll find some way to unplug their justifications, and one of the main reasons is I do have some talents, and I was badly injured by a neurotoxin, And that is Carnegie Mellon and the university's responsibility to compensate me for. So what do they do? What do they do? They say calling all mad millionaires, calling all mad millionaires. This will defy our pressure point. And they have no intention ever giving me a penny of anything, not for hard work, not for injuries, not for exposing the gruesome crime with the Beatles. Absolutely gruesome. Horror crime. Not for any of my detective work, my writing, my journalism. They have no intention ever of doing it. But they spread the rumor that the principle of the penny, oh my God, the principle of the penny, it's a pressure point on the psyche of the criminally insane lunatics who dominate Seattle civics. They tear the carpet. They rip and murder homeless bystanders. They attack people with hatchets. And they say, where are the Wobblies? Where are the Wobblies?